Most surveys say the average American thinks they need about $1.3 million to retire comfortably. But there's a twist. Most people retire with much less, and many still live fulfilling lives. So what explains the difference? It's not just money. It's mindset, it's planning, and choices. And that's exactly what these videos in this course is about. I want you to think of retirement like a roller coaster. When I was 16, I went on one and I cried the whole time. Not my proudest moment, but here's the thing. The ride itself wasn't the problem. The problem was I wasn't ready for the ups and downs. Retirement can feel the same way if you step in without preparation. Every bump feels terrifying, but if you have a plan, if you know what to expect, you can actually enjoy the ride. That's why I created these videos, this course, Retirement Planning 101. It's 8 modules, and I want to give you the roadmap you need. Module 1, redefining retirement. We're starting by breaking through the myths that keep people stressed out and stuck in their tracks. Before we get into the material, I'd like to introduce myself. I'm Daryl Rosen, and this is the Retirement Guide channel. I built the SECURiMENT Retirement Success Method to make retirement planning less overwhelming and a whole lot more doable. At the end of the day, my goal's pretty simple. I want you to retire with comfort and happiness. It's the same goal I've got for myself. So let's get started. What retirement really means. When most people think about retirement, they imagine the one big moment walking out of the metaphorical office for the last time. But here's the truth. Retirement isn't a single moment. It's really a transition, and it happens in phases. We call them the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. The go-go years, that's when you're active and you're adventurous and you're spending freely. Think of this as your honeymoon stage of retirement. I've seen retirees spend more money in the first 2 years of retirement than they did in their last 5 years of working. And the reason is because suddenly the calendar is wide open and every day is the weekend. One of my clients took all of her grandkids to Disney World almost every single year during her go-go phase. The slow-go years, that's when things start to settle down a little bit. You're still living well, but maybe you're not hopping on planes as much. I had another client who said, these days, I'm happiest just hosting Sunday dinners. That's the slow-go phase in a nutshell. And the no-go years, that's when the health starts to take more of your time and budget. You know, healthcare alone can cost over $300,000 over a couple's retirement. That doesn't mean life stops. It just shifts. So retirement isn't just about quitting a job. It's designing a life that works in all 3 stages and having sufficient retirement funds to live the life you want during each phase. So here's what I want you to do right now. I want you to picture your own retirement. Don't overthink it. Write down or send yourself a text message the first 3 words that pop into your head. Maybe travel, maybe family, maybe freedom, maybe exercise, or for me, reading. I get quite the bang out of the Kindle Unlimited subscription. That's your personal definition of retirement. We'll keep building this as we go along. Common retirement myths. Why they cause real harm. Before we move further, let's tackle some myths that cause a lot of damage, not just confusion, but real mistakes that cost people money, stress, and quality of life. Myth number 1, the magic number. If I just create $1 million, I'll be fine. Here's why this myth is so harmful. It causes paralysis by uncertainty. People focus so much on getting to the number that they delay action even when they hit big numbers. They often aren't sure how much is safe to withdraw, and that uncertainty leads many to underspend, sacrificing enjoyment in retirement out of fear, ignoring lifestyle and risk factors. 2 people with the same savings can have very different futures depending on their health, their lifestyle, location, investment returns, inflation, and taxes. What looks like enough on paper might not be enough in practice. Statistical anchoring. According to Social Security policy modeling, Social Security alone typically replaces about 40% of pre-retirement income. So the rest has to come from savings or pensions or other income. That magic number is affected by the amount of your Social Security, pensions, and other variables. Myth number 2, I'll pay less in taxes after I retire. Here's why this myth is so harmful. Unexpected income sources. Even after retirement, many people have income from Social Security, investment dividends, required minimum distributions on their retirement accounts, part-time work or rental properties, passive income. These can push you into taxable brackets you really didn't expect. Planning late equals a higher cost. When people fail to plan for taxes, they end up withdrawing from taxable accounts in inefficient ways. They may also claim Social Security earlier than is optimal or fail to exploit Roth versus traditional account strategies, which can often lead to paying more in tax over time. One survey from Fidelity shows that people often overestimate their tax drop in retirement and end up surprised. And while I don't always have a public stat for increased tax surprise, this is drawn from numerous client cases and industry reports. Here's myth number 3. I'll spend less money in retirement. Here's why this myth is so harmful. Spending spikes in early retirement. Many retirees assume their spending will immediately drop. Instead, the opposite often happens. And it's often dubbed the retirement spending smile. Expenditures go up at first: travel, hobbies, grandkids, expenses. Then they decline. And then they rise again, especially if there's a lot of healthcare costs later in retirement. The reality is many people misestimate the long-term costs. And if you budget based on the idea that spending will drop sharply, you may undersave or underestimate how long your savings are likely to last. Failing to account for inflation, things like maintenance, healthcare, and rising costs of living expenses can lead to surprise shortfalls. Another myth is that Social Security will be enough. Here's why this myth can harm you. Social Security was never designed to replace your full working income. And for many people, it covers 40% of what they've earned pre-retirement, which means there's a big gap to be filled through other income, savings or investments or pensions, things along those lines. There can be a lifestyle mismatch where if you assume Social Security alone will cover your lifestyle, vacations, healthcare, hobbies, helping family, you may find yourself needing to cut back in ways you didn't anticipate because you think that that's the money you should spend. There's also a risk of delay or underclaiming. A lot of people delay or underutilize their Social Security benefits because of a misunderstanding of the rules, or they claim early and reduce their monthly amounts. Without a supplemental income strategy, this leads to financial stress. Let's summarize the damage some of these myths cause. Decisions based on false assumptions often lead to overspending early, undersaving, or running out of money, or living in fear instead of enjoying retirement. These myths delay critical planning, tax strategy, withdrawal strategy, risk mitigation like inflation, longevity, health. They may lead retires to make choices that shrink their quality of life, like pushing off travel, delaying medical care, or reluctantly shrinking their lifestyle. Remember, you should want to spend more money when you're younger and healthier. So let me ask you this question. Which of these myths did you believe? Or maybe a combination of them? Drop it in the comments. Facing those myths, honestly, is your first step towards building a clearer, stronger plan. The mindset shift. And this brings us to the most important shift you'll ever make in retirement, moving from accumulation to distribution. During your working years, it can seem simple: earn, save, invest. That's accumulation. But once you retire, the game changes. Now it's about spending wisely, creating reliable streams of income, and managing risks like inflation, healthcare, and taxes. It's not about chasing the highest return anymore. It's about stability and confidence. And here's the emotional part. Some retirees are so scared of running out that they don't spend it all. They've saved for 40 years but can't bring themselves to enjoy their money. Others overspend early. They buy a new RV or luxury vacations, and suddenly they're facing tough cutbacks. The sweet spot is balance, growth plus income, risk management over chasing returns, and most importantly, confidence in your plan so you're not living in fear. So here's a question. If you had to put every dollar into just one bucket today, stability or growth, which one would you choose and why? That answer says a lot about your comfort level with risk. So here's a case study with Susan and John. They both are retirees starting with $1 million. In year one, Susan dives right into retirement. She books a $12,000 dream vacation. She puts $8,000 into home upgrades and takes money out of her IRA without thinking about the tax consequences. She figures, I worked hard, I deserve it. John takes a vacation too, but it's built into his plan. He budgeted for it. He knows exactly where the money is coming from, and he balances it with his other spending. Both are smiling. Both feel like retirement is off to a wondrous start. In year three, Susan is playing it safe. She moved most of her portfolio into CDs and bonds. She's terrified of losing money. The problem is that inflation is eating away at her spending power. Gas and groceries and travel, all that stuff costs more. So her balance has barely grown, but her lifestyle is already getting a little squeezed. John, meanwhile, has a balanced approach. About 60% of his money's in reliable income investments, the other 40% in growth. His portfolio has kept pace with inflation. His spending is steady. His account is stable, and he doesn't feel the pinch the same way. If we move forward to year five, Susan's balance has dropped to about $650,000, and now the worry starts to set in. She starts canceling some vacations. She doesn't know what to say when her grandkids ask for help with college. She even delays some medical procedures because she doesn't want the bill. She's not broke, but she feels trapped. Every spending decision feels like a risk. John's balance is close to $900,000, but more importantly, he's using his money confidently. He's taken 2 family trips a year. He's paid $5,000 annually towards his grandkids' tuition and even upgraded his kitchen. He's not second guessing himself. He's starting to really enjoy his life. Year 70, Susan's now required to take minimum distributions from her retirement accounts. She hasn't planned for the tax consequences at all. Every withdrawal feels like she's losing more and more ground. She starts clipping coupons again, something she never thought she would do again. John, on the other hand, has already mapped out his withdrawals with taxes in mind. His RMDs fit neatly into his income plan. He and his wife are talking about their next trip, maybe Italy this time. Here's the lesson. Susan wasn't careless. She was doing what she felt was safe, but without a plan, she drifted. John wasn't luckier. He simply had a roadmap, and that gave him both financial stability and emotional confidence. So let me ask you, would you rather have more money with no plan, always worrying if it's enough, or a structured plan that makes sure your money works for you year after year? So here are your action steps for today. I'd like you to write down your personal definition of retirement. Number 2, I'd like you to pick one of the myths we talked about and commit to dropping it from your thought processes. And number 3, list your top 3 likely retirement expenses beyond the basics. And remember, retirement isn't an ending. It's a redesign of your life. So don't just chase a number, build a plan. In the next module, we'll take this further and create your actual retirement vision so you can start shaping what those go-go, slow-go, and no-go years will actually look like. The truth is, retirement isn't about what you've saved. It's about what you do with it. And the fact that you're here learning, that means you're already ahead of the game. If you enjoyed this video, you might like this one, and thanks for watching.